Hi, welcome to the channel. In this video we're looking at a tent by North Ridge. It's the Col tent, C-O-L. Now I suspect a few of you are thinking, this tent looks very familiar, and it does. North Ridge are a Go Outdoors brand, and they used to make tents, one of them being this Col tent. Go Outdoors decided to make all of their tents under the OEX brand, and this tent became the OEX Bobcat. So if you're familiar with the OEX Bobcat, as far as I can make out, this tent is pretty much identical. So you're probably thinking, why do a video on a tent that you can no longer buy? Well, if you like the look of the OEX Bobcat, it's currently in Go Outdoors for £110. The RRP is much higher than that, but with most own brand Go Outdoors gear, you never pay the RRP, you always pay whatever the membership price is if you pay for the £5 membership card. £110 is still a whack of money for someone to buy a tent. So I'm going to do a video of this tent because you can find this one used. This particular tent I picked up for just 30 quid, including postage from Facebook Marketplace. And they said it had only been used once, but looking at the condition of it, I don't think it's even used once. The guy lines weren't even untied. They were all tied up original factory state. The entire bag, everything just looks in absolutely mint condition. So it's a cut price Bobcat. It's 30 quid for a Bobcat. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for the North Ridge version if the OEX Bobcat appeals to you. But we'll have a good look around the tent anyway and see what you make of it. You can see it packs down nice and small, weighs in at 1.85 kilos. I did weigh that myself. I made it roughly the same, if not just a tiny bit heavier. But that is with all the original bag, poles, pegs, everything. One good feature with the bag is that it's oversized, so you can easily expand it when you're packing it away, which makes it really easy if you're packing away with cold hands or it's wet, or you're just in a bit of a hurry to get down. Nothing worse than trying to roll up a tent nice and neat to try and get it back into a bag that's just not big enough. This one here, you can fully extend the bag and then use these two straps to cinch it in afterwards. Nice bit of design. So inside the bag you have obviously the tent itself. I imagine the inner and outer are pre-attached for easy all-in-one pitching. You get a bag of tent pegs, and they are fairly standard, but they're lightweight alloy ones, so better than some of the steel tent pegs you get included with tents of this price range. Also get a little repair kit. Interestingly, inside the repair kit is obviously different bits of material for if you get a rip or a tear. A couple of little things that you use to attach the inner and stuff, so if one of these breaks you can thread one of these through and use that. And a little tube of seam sealant. So it'd be interesting to see if the seams are fully sealed. I assumed it would be with the material that the tent uses, but we'll pitch the tent and find out if that's the case. And obviously the single aluminium pole, which is an 8.5mm aluminium pole. Pitching the tent is very, very easy. It's a single pole design, so single pole going through the complete sleeve, and then it's just very much a simple 3 pegs at each end, and it is up. So it's not a freestanding tent. You need to peg it out to give it structure, but it's extremely quick to peg out and set up. And the inner, you can detach if you want to, but you can leave it completely attached so that the inner just goes up completely as one. So it's extremely quick to pitch, and you've got 4 simple guy lines which just give it a bit of extra strength side to side to keep that central pole nice and stable. In terms of spec, the outer material, you've got a 5000mm hide strike head on that, and you've got an 8.5mm aluminium single pole. The bag and the tent itself doesn't specify what the ground sheet is, but most OEX tents, and I'm assuming North Ridge would be made in exactly the same place back in the day, are around 5000mm hide strike head on the ground sheets, and the ground sheet, from the look of it, looks to be similar material to other OEX tents I've owned and used with the hide strike head on them. So this tent, like the Bobcat, is very much about the porch space and the kind of cooking space. So the idea being that you sat in the inner and you've got all this cooking space, you've got a good sheltered bit here. If the wind is approaching from the back or from the sides, you've got a sheltered cooking area. The other really cool thing is that the zip is completely double, so you can spin the door around whichever way you want, open the top as a window, and it's actually got a little bit of zippable mesh at the top as well, so you can have it as a sort of open window to be able to see out, but with some decent protection from any rain falling from above. And obviously you can tie that up neater. I'm just getting out of the way for the sake of the video. The inner tent is this lovely fetching orange colour with a black bathtub, and that's obviously attached all the way around the inside and at each end and at each corner, but nothing on the back middle, so it will be a little bit saggy because of that. So one thing that people won't be keen on is the fact that the door zips down like that, so you kind of roll it out the way, so you will be kind of sat on that when you're using the tent. In terms of interior space, it is very much a kind of coffin design, so you haven't got a huge amount of sideways space, and this side panel does tend to sag a little. There's nowhere on the bottom to pull it out, so you've obviously got a connector at each corner to give it a bit of shape, but this side panel, you could do have had an extra little loop here just to pin that back a bit and give you a bit more space, otherwise it does kind of sag in you quite a lot. Lengthwise, I'm going to suggest this tent is not for tall people. The Bobcat gets overwhelmingly positive reviews on the Go Outdoors website, with the one proviso that it's only really suitable for fairly, not short people, but people under 6 foot. If you're 6 foot and above, I think this kind of tent, just forget about it really, because I'm about 5'11", and my feet are pretty much touched in the bottom there, and my head is is pretty close to this side up here. So, you know, at 5'11", I'm probably about as tall as you want to be in this tent. And this side panel, yeah, if that was just cinched back a little bit more, you'd have a lot more usable space in here. However, in terms of usable space, looking at the real positive, this porchway, once you get the door unzipped as well, you can sit here very comfortably, tons of room for boots, your bag, and you could cook really comfortably with decent height, haven't got to worry about airflow, and you could really enjoy yourself whilst out and about, even if it was raining. I think as long as it was sort of coming from that sort of direction or from the side, you'd be really set for a comfortable bit of cooking and chilling out like this. In terms of storage, you've got a pocket at each end, fairly decent size. You could shove your phone, wallet, a few other valuable things in there, and you have got right in the centre a little hook for hanging a lantern on. And as discussed earlier, because it's double zipped, you can take the top zip down and have a very nice window, so you can have a look out, see what the weather's doing, see if it's worth getting up and do a time lapse, see if it's just worth staying in bed for a bit longer. Really nice feature, and as you can see from the very top as well, the top bit is a bit of mesh for airflow, so you can, this is protecting that from the rain, but still giving you a bit of air because the inner is pretty solid. Now, this tent was never marketed as a 4-season tent, but because of the single pole design, snow is going to shed off it pretty well. The outer fly sheet pitches really low to the ground, and the inner can be completely solid, or you can keep this mesh. So summertime or warm weather, this mesh provides really good airflow, and again, you can combine that with having the outer door open in different ways to let maximum airflow in. But in colder weather, you can zip it up and it is a completely solid inner. What you'll also see is there are 2 points at each side where you can hang the fly sheet from. So you can kind of give yourself a bit of a corner there and a corner there if you wanted to. Again, a bit of extra weather protection from the rain coming in sideways, and just more options of what you can do with that door. It is a very nice bit of design and a very flexible little tent. In rough weather, I think you're going to want to have it pitched sort of end onto the wind so the wind passes over that way, because this back, whilst it's pegged down quite neatly, it doesn't have a guy outline from the back. So if wind was going to put a lot of pressure on this, it's probably going to make contact with the inner tent. Obviously this is not the perfect pitch, it's just a nice quick one just for this video, and the ground is a little bit uneven, but you can see how close the fly sheet is to the ground, so it should be a really good warm tent in winter. And according to people who've used the Bobcat, it does perform really well in bad weather. It's a bit of a tried and trusted design as well, the single hoop design like this. Berghaus used to make a Peak 3.1 and a 3.1 Pro. I used to own the Pro version, a really light green little tent. That was always pretty good in bad weather. I think Terra Nova did one, I want to say like the Solar or something, they did one of a very similar design to this. And obviously the Bobcat now sells pretty well and seems to be really well reviewed on YouTube. It seems to be quite a popular tent. In terms of that little tube of seam sealant, I have checked the seams, particularly the main seam, and they are all sealed. So I wonder if it's just a bit of extra in case any of the seams did start to leak or were perhaps not seam sealed 100% at the factory. You could just dab a little bit on the inside just to finish it off. So yeah, a nice little idea, or even could be for if you are using those repair patches, you could seal those as well. So I don't think the seam sealant means you have to go around and seal the seams because they are all tape seamed. Well, there we have it. I don't think there's anything more to say about the tent really. 30 quid Facebook Marketplace, and that included postage. It seems to be in absolutely perfect condition. It is, as suspected, identical as far as I can tell to the OEX Bobcat. There might be a few little tweaks with the Bobcat, but it seems to be pretty much the same design. Only thing I haven't mentioned is there is a tension band running from right the way along the bottom. So the pole hoops over the top, and the tension band keeps the tension at the bottom. Provides a bit of extra stability, a bit of extra strength. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you own a Bobcat, or you've been thinking about a Bobcat, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? How have you found it in bad weather? Do you prefer the green and black of this tent or the kind of sandy brown of the Bobcat? Now, I must admit, my last camp was in the OEX Fox 1, an extremely low slung compact tent. So the space and the height in this tent is night and day difference. So I'm looking forward to taking this for a wild camp. If you want to see how that goes and want to see my follow-up thoughts having spent a night in it, then do subscribe to the channel because I will be taking out in the next few weeks. Anyway, if you've made it this far, huge thanks for watching. If there's any other questions that you've got, anything I haven't covered or anything you think I've missed out, ask in the comments and I will definitely get back to you and try and find out. And obviously I still own the tent, so I can dig into the bag and have a look for you as well. But that is it for this video. So again, any questions, I will see you in the comments and I will catch you in the next video.